name's Andrew Weiss. Thanks for joining the BSP Software podcast channel today. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about MetaManager Series 3 impact analysis capabilities, and specifically how you can alter the behavior to turn them off sometimes, and that'll help speed up your processes as well as reduce memory on the client, memory on the server, and your load on your Cognos BI server. Just a little history here. About 2 years ago or so, when we redesigned MetaManager Series 2 and released Series 3, one of the big design initiatives was to include impact analysis and audit capabilities wherever we possibly could. So you'll see a preview button in just about every module where it makes sense. The ability to compare what you're doing and is the change that you desire is in fact going to happen, and preview those changes. As well as the ability of validating reports before you make changes and after you make changes, really giving you the ability to just move slowly and gain a lot of confidence that what you're doing is actually going to work right. In Series 2, you could set up the screen and let it go at it and make bulk edits to the server, and you had to look after the fact to see if it did it right. With Series 3, we really pride ourselves on the ability to have a full impact analysis as to what are we going to do and is it going to work. Now, with all those extra features and impact analysis capabilities certainly comes a lot of extra processing, a lot of extra memory usage, and many more queries against the server to ask it to do things. And that's not always necessary. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary, and you just need to know this, and you've got to spend the time that it takes to get the information that you need. But in some scenarios, as with the use case I'm going to demonstrate today, you really don't need those, and we can shut them off. So let's have a look. Our use case today is going to be in the Find Replace module. And what I'm going to do is use the Find Replace module to find what reports are using my product name query item. I'm about to make a change in a model to that, and I want to know what the impact is going to be. So this is also another common use case, just aside from impact analysis, that many users have asked in our support system. First, let me jump down to Specification Editor and do a shameless plug on our Spec Editor Extended module. What I'm going to do is come down to the Create a List report, because I know that Create a List report uses the query item in question. In this module, I can view a report, just the XML of the report, which is nice. I get down to the low-lying programmatic view of the report where I can copy stuff out, actually make changes, preview those changes, validate those changes, and save it back to the content store right in this editor. So, nice little utility. Check out Specification Editor. There's a 14-day trial if you don't own a license to it. In any case, product name, that's the expression I want, so I'm going to copy that, head back over to Find and Replace, and drop that in my search text. Okay, I'm going to search for product name, and I replace it with nothing or XXX. Doesn't really matter. I'm not actually going to update these reports. I'm just going to look for that product name, and that would show up in the data item area. Now I've got to pick what reports I want to look at. Well, I want every report. I want to know where is this thing in my entire environment of all of public folders and all of the users' my folders. Well, right off the bat, that's too much, because we know that's going to include a lot of reports that could never even have this query item in there. So we don't want to search in public folders and directory. Second way I can do it is just pull over the Go Sales and Retailers package. But not all the reports built off this package are actually in this folder. Some of them may be in different folders, some may be in users' my folders. Okay, so the way that you want to do it to get down to the list of all of the reports that have the potential of having this query item, you right-click on the package and you say Find Related Reports. That's going to perform a search, which is going to be the reports related to the Go Sales and Retailers package. Those are the reports built off that package. I'll throw out just another feature over here. If you haven't seen this yet, the built-in searches drop-down is another way to do this. All objects built off of a specific package. If you haven't found this area of the product, take a look at it, read some of the use cases down here. Some of these are very applicable and can give you some insight in your environment. Just another way to do the same thing. Okay, so we have our list of reports. Let's expand that. These are the reports that have the potential of having product name in it. We want to look at every single one of these reports and see if they're impacted or not. Okay. So let's hit preview. And I'm not going to let it go for too long, and I'll hit cancel, because this is not the way I want to run the module. I'm doing too much work in this use case. If I was actually making the change product name to XXX and I was intending to update this in the content store, absolutely I want to do the validation. I want to know, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What's happening? I want to have the ability to diff my changes, preview my changes, see what I'm, my full impact analysis. But that's not my use case here. In fact, I know that my changes are going to break the report because XXX is just not a query subject, or query item. So in this case, there's no reason to spend the time doing the validation. The validation is probably the lengthiest part of this whole operation. Downloading a report spec from Cognos doesn't take a long time, but validating a report can take, depending on the size of the report, a lot of time and puts a lot of load on the server. So definitely a lot of work going to waste there. Alright, what I'm getting at is this option up on the toolbar, uncheck to skip validation. So I go and I skip validation. This time I hit preview, and we can see what happens is the reports are going to be downloaded very quickly now. We download that report spec, do a quick search and replace on it, and see if it's impacted. And we either get a yes or a no. We don't validate the original status, we don't validate the new status. We just skip that work. So that's a lot of work that we're passing up on. Okay, now it looks like it's finished. Let's go down to the bottom of our list and look at the footer row, which has some information for us. We looked at 196 reports built off this package, and 98 of them contained the product name query item. First thing I want to do is get this list down to just the 98. So I'm going to click the button over here, Remove Unimpacted Reports. Alright, all of the rows that had a no in the impacted column are now gone, and I'm down to just the list of 98 reports. Let me say something before I forget. Check to validate reports. I've turned this option off. It's going to stay off now, even if I close and reopen MetaManager. So if you want that option turned back on later, you'll have to come back in and actually click it. So we remember the state of that. So make sure that you always take a look at that before you hit go. Okay, so now I've got my list of 98 impacted reports. Generally, two places I go from here. One is I want to get this information out of MetaManager and get it in the hands of some user. Okay, very simple. There are 4 buttons on most of the toolbars, most of the modules in the toolbar to output to PDF, HTML, XML, or XML as a data source. XML as a data source, and look at podcast number 1 of our podcast channel where we did this, I believe, where we take this XML data source, model it in Cognos, and actually report on it in the studio. Probably not something here that we'd want to do, but for other situations that would make a lot of sense. Let's output this as HTML and have a look at the HTML report. Basically, we have a list of the names of the reports and the search path. That's pretty much all that's beneficial for us here, because the impact status and the validation status, all those columns are going to be the same. So this is our list of reports. We got it out of MetaManager. I can take this HTML file. We designed it specially so that you can open it right up in Excel, and it'll lay out in Excel in a tabular form nicely. So I can have my list of reports in there as well. So that's use case number 1. The second use case is I want to do something more with this list of reports in MetaManager. Okay, we covered this in an earlier podcast, but I'll cover it again. We have a new Save as Favorite option. With Save as Favorite, we take this static list of 98 reports. It's static, it's never going to change. We give it a friendly name, so we'll call it Reports that use product name. Okay, and favorites, if you haven't found this area of the portal tree, show up on the left-hand side as a green folder. Favorites are static lists. So that's 98 things in there. It'll always be 98 unless I go and remove something from it, and then it'll be 97. Or I can add more to it, whatever the case is. It's a static list of things that you work with often. You feel free to right-click on favorites and make your own folders and drag folders and reports that you use all the time. The huge benefit about favorites is that it's shared amongst all the modules. So I found this information in report and find and replace. I put it in the tree here, but I'm going to use it somewhere else. So I'm going to go to Backup, Restore, and Deploy. Take my reports that use product names, see my favorites over here again, drag it to the backup items. So I'm going to go back up all these reports because I'm about to delete them. Or come on over to the Content Store Documenter module, and again drag that list in. And let's document the contact. I want the ancestors. I want to know where is it in the environment. the contact and the contact email and the owner, as well as maybe the name of this report. So now I've got some more documentation, some more information about this report itself. And then let me jump over to Report Validator. Just another point I want to make clear about the impact analysis capabilities. In Report Validator, as the name suggests, it validates reports. But that's not the only thing it does. It does two things. It validates reports, but it also saves them back into the content store, which updates their model reference. So if you publish a package from Framework Manager, every time you open the report in the studio, you get that message, the report's been updated to the latest model, go ahead and save. So with Report Validator, you can go ahead and save. You can use this to just save those reports and get rid of that message. Now if I come down here and I hit Validate, we do two things. Validate the report, and then save it. Now that's fine if I want to know if they're valid or not. I may not care if they're valid or not. And if that's the case, turn the option off. So now I hit Validate, and it goes much faster. Now you can't see the speed difference with two reports, but believe me, with 20,000 reports, the speed difference is more server-side, with reducing the load on the report service, asking it to validate a report after report after report. Certainly save a lot of time and not bog down your IBM Cognos server. Okay, that's it for today, and trying to just in summary, we've gone to great lengths to provide a lot of features and capabilities around validation and impact analysis, but it doesn't always fit the use case. There's many use cases that these modules support, and sometimes they're absolutely necessary, but sometimes you really don't need them, and that's a decision you got to make for yourself. And if you can shut it off, you're going to see a huge speed benefit and memory benefit, and sometimes that's exactly what you needed. So thank you very much. Keep the support tickets coming. Support at bspsoftware.com, and always happy to help.